I decided to make a video on shooting barebow. And basically barebow is a bow that has no sights, shoot off the shelf. And traditional arrows, you could shoot wood, you could shoot any kind, aluminum, carbon, but I like the use of feathers. And I'll go through several different steps on how I shoot the bow. Okay, when you first start out in archery, it's a good idea to go to a range or somebody who's an instructor that has different weight bows for you to pull back to see what's comfortable for you to pull, anchor, and hold for at least 5 seconds. So this way you don't shake and tremble, and you can have a nice clean release and hit what you're aiming at when you learn. The other thing is, once you get a comfortable bow weight, you're going to need to know what kind of arrows and what spine to use. What length arrows. Draw length is from where you pull back and anchor to the front of the riser of the bow, right in the front of the riser of the bow. Okay, so usually there's a full length arrow that's marked, and you actually pull back, and where it stops, right in the front, it'll tell you how many inches it is from there to your anchor point. Now, that's draw length. Draw length is not to be confused with arrow length. Arrow length is 2 inches longer than your draw length. You want that arrow to be at least 2 inches longer, so this way when you have a broadhead on, it clears your hand. Or you don't want a really short arrow. Never try anybody else's arrows. If they have a real short draw, you pull back and it goes past the shelf, that arrow will wind up in your wrist. So that's the first step. Comfortable poundage bow, and know your draw length, and know your arrow length, which is 2 inches more. And then you can start having some lessons and having some fun shooting. Okay, I know some instructors are used to teaching the archer's tee. Basically, hold your arms out, you're looking down towards, keeping your bow hand in line with your shoulders, bringing this hand around, your head's upright, everything, your stance is shoulder width apart, comfortable, and everything's in line. And when you release, you use your back tension, which is basically like a yawn. It's, you watch your elbow, it's a 30-degree downward pull of your back. It's basically like this motion here. But with barebow shooting, it's a little different. That perfectly straight head and bringing the string back to your face really don't apply. There's a natural cant to your bow. If you're shooting off the shelf, draw back, touch your anchor, there's a slight little bend, and it's okay to bend your head down to the string and touch the feather to your nose for the release. It's just a little different way of shooting. Not to say one's right or one's wrong, but if I stayed upright and kept in line with a less open stance without standing 45 degrees to the target, and I threw on a hunting coat, when I released that arrow, that string would hit that coat every time. But if I stand 45 degrees, hold the bow with the natural cant, touch my anchor, and I bring my head into it a little bit, and I release, that string is now several inches away from my arm. I never have to worry about it hitting the hunting coat. And that's kind of the difference in how I teach. I don't teach like you would teach an Olympic shooter. It's a little different. Every person has a different draw length, different size arms. Everybody has a different bow weight, different pounds at their draw length. If they have shorter arms, and these bows are usually measured, the pounds are 28-inch draw. Mine is actually 27.5 because I shoot canted, a natural cant, and release, and that shortens up my draw a little bit. So a couple of pounds more for over 28-inch draw length, a couple of pounds less for a shorter draw length. You can weigh it on a bow scale. Okay, something I want to show you, there's a natural cant to your hand. I stand 45 degrees to the target, and when I throw my bow hand up, you see that natural cant? See the bow is on an angle? That's the natural cant. Every time you throw your arm up, that is your natural cant. I shoot with a slight bend in my arm. and a natural cant, and I adjust my arrow spine so I can move it over to hit exactly where I'm looking. Okay, in archery there are several steps in order to hit the target. It starts with your stance. It starts with how you hold your shoulders, how you hold your bow hand, how you hook the string, draw back, anchor, focus on the target, release with a follow-through. But if you don't have a routine and stand on the shooting line and first have a good stance, and you have to have a good anchor point, and how I shoot the barebow is different than a lot of other people. I always keep my arm bent. This way, when you release the arrow, the bow will go forward and the arrow will go downrange where you're looking. Okay, how I shoot the barebow is 3 fingers under, which means 3 fingers go under the knocked arrow. I anchor, and I'm looking at the point of the arrow. At closer ranges, like a deer at 15 yards, I put the point under the belly. Maybe at 20 yards, it's point on, right on where I want to hit. Maybe 25 yards, I hit the back of the deer. I put the point on the back of the deer, and the arrow will launch and drop down into the deer. At 30 yards, I'm holding like a 2-liter bottle of soda over the back of the deer for the trajectory to hit the deer. So that's how I shoot, gap shooting, and we're going to go more in detail in the video. Okay, now I'm going to show you actually drawing. I'm standing with my left foot forward, 45 degrees to the target, 3 under. Don't put a lot of pressure under the arrow will pop off. Just come up to it. I'm going to anchor the middle finger to the corner of my mouth, feather to the tip of my nose, and when I release, I'm going to try to hold my hand right there where I'm looking and keep my hand against my face. Whether you use back tension and slide your hand along your face, keep pressure there, or if you try to static and keep it there without moving, you're always going to get some movement. Here we go. Okay, not bad. I'm going to do it one more time, show you where the arrow is. Okay, not bad. The arrow's a little low. Going to do it one more time at 10 yards, closer. The reason I'm going closer is I want to show you when targets are lower or you're closer, you're going to draw back, touch your anchor, feather to the tip of your nose, and then you're going to bend down to the target. So if you're shooting a rabbit on the ground, you want to go down. Otherwise, your arrow will shoot high and over the rabbit. Okay, it's supposed to rain tomorrow, so I wanted to finish this video up tonight. Basically, the only thing I wanted to touch base on is also, besides shooting close ranges, bending at the waist, when you're in a tree stand, you want to do the same thing. You want to draw, bend at the waist, and aim underneath the deer wherever your point to aim is. If the deer is really close, you have to keep in mind that you have to aim in the dirt in front of the deer for the arrow to rise up into the deer. So I hope this video will help you shoot better, and if you're not really into archery, that hopefully it'll make you want to go to a range and pick up a bow, get a lesson from an instructor. Okay, we're good.